Hey guys, it's John from Chicago Fire Photos, and in episode 6 of All About the CFD, we're going to be getting into the Chicago Fire Departments High-Rise Operations Firefighting Procedure. Now, let's get into it. Alright, now let's get into what is a high-rise building. So a high-rise building in the city is anything that's over 80 feet in height, any structure. So that would be considered a class 4 high-rise. So anything from 80 to 275 feet in height. And then class 3 is 275 to 540 feet in height. Class 2 is 540 to 780. And class 1 is 780 or more. Actually, a real cool fact about high-rises in Chicago. The city is 9th in the world for most high-rises. There are over 1,400 buildings in the city that can be classified as a high-rise style building, which is pretty neat. So it shows how necessary this policy is and these requirements are, because, well, there's a lot of high-rise buildings, and in turn, high-rise fires are, well, not super common, are a fairly common occurrence. So now we're going to get into company assignments. All right. So, starting off with the most basic level, which is an automatic alarm in a high-rise. This is for any fire alarm in a high-rise building where no smoke or fire is reported. And that response is pretty simple. It's an engine, a truck, and a battalion chief. And basically all they do is they're going to arrive on scene, investigate. They don't have a fire, they're going to return. It's a pretty simple procedure. But actually getting into the reported fire procedure, which is a still in a high-rise, you're going to get a few things on that response. Firstly, you're going to get 3 of these guys. You're going to get 3 engines, 2 truck companies, 3 battalion chiefs, a squad, a command van, a deputy district chief, a paramedic field chief, and 2 ambulances. Now, let's get into what they actually do on scene. All right. So, getting into the 3 engines assigned on the still. What your first engine is going to do when arriving on scene is establish a fit team with the truck company, the first arriving truck company. Now, what a fit team is they're going to go up and investigate for a fire. It's called the fire investigation team. And if they have a fire, they're going to lead out and go to work. It's pretty simple. Your second engine on scene is going to report to the lobby with the same tools and equipment, their lead outs, as the first engine. And if a fire is confirmed, they're going to go up to the fire floor where the engine is, and they're either going to assist on the primary hand line that's being let out, or they'll lead out a second one due to the depending on the intensity of the fire. The engineers from the first 2 engine companies are going to work to establish a water supply and then establish a connection, if there is one, to the standpipes and sprinkler system in the building. Now, what the third engine is going to do when arriving on scene is they're going to be what's known as lobby control. So what that means is they are going to do all of the, I wouldn't say, the almost administrative tasks in the lobby. So they're going to work the fire panels, help with equipment, assist the chiefs down there. They're basically, it's a general role. They can be used for a bunch of different stuff. And their engineer is going to leave the rig and go inside and help them too. Now, we're going to get into the truck companies. Okay, so getting into what the still trucks do, of course, on the still you get 2 trucks. Now that first truck, they're going to form the fit team with the engine, of course, and they're going to go up. If a fire is determined, they're going to be responsible for searches and ventilation on the fire floor, as well as 1 firefighter from the truck company will stay in the lobby to man the elevators in what is called the Otis position. Now, once this firefighter has taken this position, they will not leave this position until the duration of the incident is over. Their job is solely to operate elevators for firefighters throughout the whole incident. Another thing that truck company is going to do while they're in the process of doing their searches and stuff is establish an evacuation and a fire attack stairwell in the building. Now what that means is they're going to establish at least one stairwell in the building that is for evacuation. So that is where they're going to direct anybody that is trying to get out of the fire to go down floors to get, of course, evacuated out of the building. But the other thing they're going to do is establish a fire attack stairwell. That's essentially just going to be whatever stairwell the engine company eventually leads out in. Then you have the second truck. The second truck is going to do two things. They're going to go up to the fire floor to assist the first in truck with searches and ventilation. And they're also going to bring up their salvage covers, which are large canvas tarps used for salvage operations. But in this case, whatever floor the fire's on, they're going to use those to dam the elevator door so that water doesn't get into the elevators and flood them, causing them to stop. This is essential because elevators are essential for fire attack and search and rescue on these high-rise fire incidents. Now we're going to get into the chief assignments. Now on that still in a high-rise response, you're getting 3 chiefs. And those 3 chiefs are the still or lobby command chief, the fire attack chief, and the forward fire command chief. Now the still chief is going to be the first arriving chief on that still response, and he's going to establish the command post in the lobby of the fire building, give the initial size up, and make announcements over the building's PA system to alert residents of the emergency. Next, you have forward fire command. What the forward fire command battalion chief is going to do is going to go up 2 floors below the fire building and establish a forward command post for fire operations. This is to better coordinate with the command post on the ground floor of what's actually going on up there. The last chief on the still is the fire attack chief. Now what the fire attack chief does is they are in command of the fire floor. So they are going to go to the fire floor where companies are working and supervise firefighting operations, as well as relay updates to command. Now let's get into the squad. Okay, so on that still in a high-rise response, you're getting 1 squad company. And what that squad company is going to do is, unless a working fire is been declared inside the building, when they get on scene, they're going to stage by the rig. That's just because if it's like what a lot of high-rise calls end up turning out to be, which is false, they're not up in the building because the squads respond to a lot of stuff like dive and hazmat incidents, so they kind of need to be on the ready at any time. But if a working fire is declared, they're going to do a couple things. They're going to get in their gear and they're going to go up to work. They are basically the floor above team. So they're going to go above the 1 floor above the fire floor and do searches of all the rooms and everything on top. They're going to check for upward fire extension, check and see if a possible if there's any possible roof ventilation, such as an access hatch, scuttles, stuff like that. They're going to check floors for stalled elevators, and if elevators are stalled, they're going to rescue victims from said stalled elevators. And if needed, they're going to join the two other truck companies as a RAT team. RAT is something we'll get into later when we get to the still in box trucks. Now let's get into the DDC. So the DDC is a real quick one. Basically, the deputy district chief is due on the still in a high rise, and essentially they are going to take that lobby command from the still battalion chief when they arrive on scene, and they'll hold it until a higher chief comes. Now, what that still chief is then going to do is they will go from lobby command to lobby control, and they will supervise operations in the lobby with arriving firefighters. The last piece of the puzzle on the still response is, of course, the command van, pictured here. What the command van is going to do when they arrive on scene is find a place near, basically as close as they can get to the fire building, and that's where they're going to set up their command post. The command van's duties during a high-rise fire are to keep track of companies, keep track of staging, and relay communications from the fire command to dispatch. Now with that, let's get into the still and box companies. Alrighty, so if a working fire is declared in a high-rise, you will get an immediate alarm upgrade to a still and box alarm. Now what you're going to get on that still and box alarm is 3 engines, 2 trucks, a tower ladder, 6 chiefs, your RIT team, a district chief, the Office of Fire Investigation, high-rise unit 6416, one of the 2 city rehab units, the battery vehicle 639, and one of the 3 air mask trucks. Now, on that still and box, what do your 3 engines do? Well, your 4th and 5th engines are going to be what's called lobby standby. Essentially, they're going to report to the lobby. Command will use them as a company. They're just a general purpose engine company. They can be used for pretty much anything. Typically, they'll be sent up to the forward fire command post, where they will stage as relief units when companies need to go to rehab. The 6th engine is what's known as ALS support. It will be an ALS engine company, and they'll report to the support area, which is something we'll get into later, and they assist in rehab operations and patient treatment. Moving over, let it focus, to the truck companies. Your 2nd and 3rd truck, your 3rd and 4th trucks are going to be what's called RAT. Now, RAT is your Rapid Ascension Team. Essentially, they're going to search and vent the stairwells of the building 5 floors below the fire floor and 5 floors above the fire floor. So they're going to do a systematic check. They're going to do a systematic check of the stairwells for any victims that couldn't make the way down. And then what the tower ladder is going to do is position near the building and set their apparatus up in case an elevated master stream is needed. Occasionally, if the floor is low enough to where the tower can get to it and it's heavy fire, they'll put the tower to work. Okay, now the next part of the still and box is the RIT team. And the RIT team is included in the still and box response because there's no working fire response. There's no in-between between the still and box for high rises, like I discussed earlier. Now, that RIT team is going to consist of an engine, a truck, a battalion chief, an ambulance, and a paramedic field chief. That battalion chief is going to be designated as the RIT battalion chief, and all they're going to do is be the commander of the RIT team. So they're in charge of all communications and operations that RIT does. Next you have the RIT truck, which is the actual RIT company. They have all their tools, they have their RIT pack, they have all the stuff. They're going to be the ones actually going to rescue the downed firefighter. Next you have the RIT engine, which will always be an ALS engine, an advanced life support engine, and their job is to provide hazardous area ALS level care. So the ambulance is going to be staged a little further down in the building, because the ambulances in Chicago are single role medics without breathing apparatus or firefighting PPE. And of course, then you have your RIT paramedic field chief and your RIT ambulance. They're going to stand by, and if, God forbid, there is a mayday where a downed fireman needs to be rescued, they will take control of the care and command of the RIT operation and care of the patient once they've been taken out of that hazardous area by those actual RIT companies. The RIT team will normally stage 2 floors below the fire in that kind of general staging area that's set up, which I'll talk about in a minute. And that's all they do. They stand by. They're not going to be given any other task. They're there until all the companies are off the floor and released. Now we're going to get into the different chiefs that you get on a still and box. Now, on the still and box, you are going to be getting 6 battalion chiefs on that response, in addition to the 3 already on the still response. Those chiefs consist of the plans chief, search and rescue chief, the support area chief, the special ops battalion chief, the the safety chief, and the RIT chief, which we just discussed. The plans chief will report to the command van, and they will coordinate all command operations on the fire ground through that command van, depending on where it's set up. The next chief is the support area chief. So the support area is going to go 3 floors below the fire and establish what's known as the support area. So that is a staging area they'll create a segmented area. So part of it is a staging area for EMS and rehab. Part of it is a staging area for relief equipment. So those 211, 311, 411, 511 engines and trucks that will go up and stage to swap crews. And relief equipment, so extra bottles, ventilation fans, tools, anything like that. Next up is the Special Ops Battalion Chief. The Special Ops Battalion Chief, there's only one in the city, it's 515. They will respond on that Stillen box, and they're kind of the multifunctional chief. A lot of times they'll get attached to the squad, but they're as kind of a multi-tool for that incident commander. So the incident commander can use them wherever they need to. Need them to go to the roof, go to the roof. Need them to do this, do that. Go to the basement, go to the basement. Pretty much, they're a do-it-all chief. Next up, we have the safety chief, and the safety chief is going to do a 360 of the building and ensure the building is safe to enter, and then actually go up and into the fire to ensure that fire operations are safe, that there's no immediate hazards to firefighters or civilians trying to evacuate the building. And finally, on that 6th chief response, we have the RIT chief, which I already discussed, is the commander of the RIT team. Now we're going to get into some special units that are assigned on the Stillen box. Okay, getting into it. On that Stillen box, you're going to be getting 5 special units. Those are OFI, the high-rise unit, the rehab unit, 639, the mobile battery vehicle, and one of the 4 Air Master trucks. So OFI. Now OFI is the Office of Fire Investigation. They operate 4 rigs, both staffed with 2 members. And what they're going to do is respond to the scene on that Stillen box alarm. And their job is to begin the initial investigation as soon as they get there. So they're going to take photos, talk to witnesses, do this, do that, do that. And then once that fire is finally out, they're going to go up and do their full in-depth investigation for cause and origin. Next up is the high-rise unit. The high-rise unit is 6416, pictured here. It is stationed at Engine 18, and Engine 18 will take it to the scene. They then can be used for extra stuff, because that engine's just in staging. But yeah, the high-rise unit itself carries a lot of extra equipment for high-rises. So it carries ventilation fans, the Hero pipe, which is a floor below nozzle, a couple extra floor below nozzles, and the most important thing that rig carries is truck company equipment. So at a certain point in high-rise fires, once you get to that 3, 4, 5, 11 level, like we'll discuss later, you run out of truck companies. And now what that high-rise unit is specifically for is to turn engine companies in staging that aren't really being used for engine company operations, they're just staged, into truck companies. So they can have them report to the high-rise unit. They'll issue them some forcible entry tools, maybe a fan, maybe this, maybe that, and then they'll have them go do searches or whatever truck operations if need be. Now the next thing is the rehab unit. There's 2 rehab units in the city, 571 and 572. 571 is stationed at Engine 49, they cover the south side, and 572 is stationed at Engine 76, covering the north side. Basically, one of those 2 rigs, whenever the fire comes out, is going to take it to the fire, and they're going to establish a rehab area on the ground. So although there is a small rehab area on the 3rd floor of that fire, they're also going to establish a ground rehab area at the base of the building with the actual rehab unit pictured here. They're going to do firefighter rehab and decon if need be. The next thing on the box is 639. Sorry for the radio traffic, this is an active firehouse. 639 is the mobile battery vehicle. It's staffed by members from the Special Operations Warehouse where it's stored, and it's pretty simple. It, pictured here, it's a van and it carries extra batteries for everything. Extrication tools, radios, all this. Anything that has a battery, they carry extra stuff. And that's all they do, is provide batteries when needed to members. And the final thing that you are going to get special unit-wise on that Stilla box, and actually, well, the final unit you're going to get on that Stilla box is your Airmaster truck. There's three in the city that are fully staffed at all times. They carry a lot of extra bottles, and then they also carry the different sized EMS oxygen tanks. So they can supply that as well. Once they arrive on scene, they're basically going to stage as close as they can to the fire, and companies are going to come and grab bottles off of them and bring them up to that support area on the 3 floors below the fire, so that when companies come back down to circle through rehab and go back up, they can grab fresh bottles. It's not uncommon for the ambulances on scene and all the fire rigs on scene to run out of bottles. It's happened before. And it's also not uncommon for that Airmaster truck to be bled dry and completely run out of bottles, which would then call for a second Airmaster truck. That happened at the 511 at, on Chestnut in the early 2000s. They went through 2 whole Airmaster trucks. They actually ended up, I think, getting a third. Now, we're gonna move on to the 211. Now on that 211, you're gonna be getting a few things, and those are 4 engines, 2 trucks, 1 tower ladder, 1 squad, 1 of the helicopters, 923, and a deputy fire commissioner. Now, the engines are just 4 engines, and they're general purpose. So this is kind of 211 and beyond is where the specific assignments stop. So from here on, these are staging companies. Their goal is to be relief companies for those first in and box companies that are working on the fire. They can be assigned to any task, any role that the incident command deems they need be. These are the engines that are going to be getting sent to that high-rise unit to be turned into trucks, like I talked about on the box. And that goes the same for the 2 trucks in the tower ladder. They're doing the same thing. And the squad. So you get a second squad on the 211, and they're going to join the other squad company and kind of work in their own little unit to do searches and more advanced stuff like that. Also, what they're going to do is, in the event of an elevator rescue, that is up to the squad's job. So I discussed this on the still, but that squad, while they're also checking the elevators for stuck elevators, if there's an elevator stuck, they have to get the people out. So that second squad is also there to assist with that. The next thing is the helicopter. So you will get on that 211 one of the fire department helicopters, either 681 or 682. There's only 1 staff normally. And what they're there for is to pull people off the roof. It's happened before, and it will probably happen again. People go to the roof for evacuation on the higher floors that are trapped by fire, and the helicopter just comes down, hoists them up, picks them up, brings them back down to a safe landing area. The really only special unit on that 211 is 923. That's the mobile ventilation unit. It's a big fan. Got a picture of it right here. And that is stationed at engine 106. And they will bring it to the scene anywhere in the city. What that is for ventilation. So, I mean, even on fires on real high floors, you can still ventilate by clearing out stairwells and other stuff like that. And the final thing on the 211 is a deputy fire commissioner. That being 218, 2110, I think there's still a 219, 216, 217, 215. Any of those deputy fire commissioners, what they're going to do is respond to the scene and then upgrade that level of command from the district chief to, of course, the deputy fire commissioner. Now that we're done with that, we're going to move on to the 311 and more. Now, I want to apologize to you guys. The 311, 411, and 511 is pretty boring. All you're getting is 4 engines. 4 engines on the 3, 4 engines on the 4, and 4 engines on the 5. And they're going to be doing the same thing that those 211 engines are going to be doing. General purpose. They can be assigned to any task that is needed. Now, if any additional equipment is needed, let's say they need an extra truck or an extra engine or a certain specialty unit, that will be special called. And what is a special call? So let's say they need 2 extra trucks and it only goes to a 211, but they still need those 2 extra trucks. It'd be a 211 and 1 special. Now, that's about it for the fire side of the rundown of what's going on. Now, we're going to take a ride over to the EMS side. All right, now getting into the EMS. Upon the declaration of a working fire inside a high-rise building, along with that still in box response, you will also get an EMS Plan 1. Now, you do already have 2 ambulances and a field chief on scene. One of those ambulances will then become the RIT ambulance for the RIT team on the still in box, and one of those field chiefs will, and that first arriving field chief will be the EMS command field chief in charge of the incident. And of course, you'll get a separate chief for RIT. Then you're going to get your EMS Plan 1 response coming in, which is a total of 5 ambulances, the assistant deputy chief paramedic, either 4411 or 4412, which is like the deputy district chief level in the EMS command system. The field chiefs are about the battalion chief level. This is 4411, right behind me. And they're going to establish triage and establish an EMS command center in the base command center in the lobby. Now, if it's required and they have the amount of patients to support it, so they have more than 5 possible transports, you're going to get an EMS Plan 2 response. Now, that EMS Plan 2 is going to consist of another 5 ambulances and an additional paramedic field chief, along with one of the mass casualty units, which looks like this. They're scattered throughout the city. There's one at 121, there's one at 55, there's a couple at the supply and logistics warehouse, and basically they have enough equipment to effectively triage up to 250 patients. Now, that second field chief is technically on the SOP as the Plan 2 field chief, but they will have already been on scene as they are the plans chief, and they're assigned on the still in box. So they're going to go to the command van and run radio communications for the EMS side during the incident, just like that plans battalion chief does for the fire side. And now, if it's a very major incident and the patient count supports it, you are going to upgrade to an EMS Plan 3, which is the highest level that an EMS plan can go. And that is an additional 5 ambulances. You're going to get an additional paramedic field chief to support command operations. You're going to get the deputy fire commissioner of EMS, which is 2111. And you're going to get the EMS transport bus, which looks like this. That's 8812. It is basically a big ambulance that can transport a bunch of people. And you're going to get the mass casualty command support unit 8817, which looks like the other mass casualty units, except it doesn't have triaging stuff. It has stuff to run EMS command for very large incidents, just additional command supplies. Now, while that is the SOP, that's what's on the books for an EMS response, EMS plan, just like the fire side, special calls can be made. And once you get past that Plan 3, if you need more ambulances, you can call for more ambulances. But also, of course, these ambulances aren't tied up the whole time like a fire company is. Because a fire company, you'll hear a special more. Once they get that 511, you'll hear specials afterwards because they need, people are committed. But the thing about the EMS plan is that it's consistently rotating because those ambulances are going to the hospital, but after they drop their patient off, they're back in service, so they're going to go back to the scene. So that's why it's such a limited amount of ambulances, about 15, because they're constantly rotating. They'll drop their patient off, they'll go back to the scene, go back in service at the scene to pick up another patient. And of course, you have the EMS transport bus, which you can put, I think, I don't have the exact specs on it, but I'm fairly certain it can transport up to 10 individuals, and it has equipment to support those all those patients on an ALS level. Now, that concludes the EMS portion of this video. That's also going to conclude the video on Highrise. That is all of the assignments in the Highrise SELP. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm so sorry that it has taken me this long. To be honest, I'm finishing school right now. I've been really busy for the last couple months, and it's been very tough creating content for this series. I've tried, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope that you guys can forgive me for the amount of time it took for this video to come out. You'll notice, because I'm a gear nerd, I've changed my photography helmet about 4 times throughout the filming of this video because it's taken me that long. But with school winding down, my senior year, I'm really hoping that I will be able to start really pumping out this content. Especially when the summer comes, I definitely am trying to shoot for bi-weekly or weekly content and really start diving into some details. I'm also really trying to get hooked up with the squad so I can do a basics of the squad company and also go over all of the stuff that squad carries. And through some contacts, hopefully maybe I might be able to do some cool stuff for you guys, like crash rigs, specialty apparatus at other firehouses. Love to do deep dives on some of the specialty apparatus the city has. We got a bunch of weird stuff. We've got smoke ejectors from the 60s, there's one here, that are still in service, and a bunch of other stuff like that. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I really want to thank you if you're still here supporting after my long absence. This video should have gone out much longer. But other than that, guys, I really hope you have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one.